Today we're going to be going over how to build a Minecraft starter house, mostly in my style, but like a nice starter house with the very limited resources you have when you first start the game. So let's get into it. So this is going to be assuming that you've like gone mining and you've killed some animals and you're kind of ready to start. That's a nice sunrise. You're basically ready to start making a house in Minecraft. You haven't just started the world and are just punching a tree. I don't know what you'd do if you wouldn't go mining first, but if you haven't gone mining, then you might want to use dirt instead of cobblestone. But let's say you've got your setup, you're smelting your ores that you've got from mining. And you've got your storage here. So this is like your workbench area. I like the setup because it's very compact. But we're going to be building the house around your setup. It doesn't matter if your setup doesn't look exactly like this. If you have more chests like all over the place. Like it really doesn't matter. Like you could have a setup like this. It doesn't matter. Actually I want to go with this setup because it's a bit wacky. And I like complicated challenges. So the first thing you're going to want to do is build up some cobblestone, or if you don't have enough cobblestone, use dirt. Some cobblestone walls around your setup. You don't need to put in the corners for now because having like a cobblestone box is not very appealing. So we're going to try and put as much shape into this as possible. So build up and make sure you've got some extra room for anything that you might want in the future. And I like to make sure that all of my walls are an odd number of blocks wide. So maybe let's make this 7 wide. You should be altering your setup a bit. Because if you're gonna have not enough blocks to cover it, then that's not ideal. Once you've sort of made a surrounding and made like your back wall, this is like going to be your workstation area. So you need something that, like a little nook that's going to be your workstation area with your storage and your furnaces and your crafting tables. You can move your storage like into another nook, but this is from a basic setup. This is what it would look like for me. And then I'm going to make a starter thing, a little outcrop at the front, because you'll have your door here. And then you can come in and it's nice and open and you can have your bed and you can have things on the floor. But this gives it a little bit of shape, which is always nice. And it just makes sure that your house is not a box, because that's not fun. So I'm going to build up my walls 3 high because I like that number. And it seems to work well. You can do 4 high if you really want to, but this is about the nicest way you'll get it done without like using so many blocks. You can like dig the floor down inside if you would like. I'm not going to do that, but you can if you want more headroom. So now you've got your basics done. You might want to put a door in there. And you can texture this when you have more resources like andesite and stone and bricks and all that fancy stuff. But for now, this is great. So now you can be safe for the night. If you have a bed, you can like sleep in it. You can do everything you want to do here, but it's kind of ugly. So we're gonna punch in some windows because you're gonna want to know it's day without having to open the door and go outside and get killed. So I'm just gonna punch in some windows here, 1 wide windows, I think. If your walls are an odd number wide, then you can have lots of 1 windows, or you can have 3 wide windows. I personally like the 1 wide windows because then you can put 2 high things here and you just get that extra bit of wall space. If it's like your first day, you're probably not going to have sand. So some good options are fences. I'm going to use spruce, or a fence gate. So you can have a fence gate and it looks quite nice, although the lighting is a bit weird. So you might want to, no, it's worse on this side. So you might want to use a fence. The lighting is still weird, but it looks kind of like a framed window. And if you really want to, you can add some trapdoors like around to add an extra layer out this way so it is framed, I guess. But for now, fences with whatever wood you have, whether you're in like a jungle or a savanna or a spruce forest or like wherever, you have something to use as windows. So that's great. You're going to be able to look out the window and see that it's either day or night without going out the door. I'm actually going to add a door in now. I'm going to go with spruce because I like spruce wood, and we're going to assume that I am in a spruce forest, which just makes it easier because you'll probably only have limited resources. Like if you're in a just normal forest, I think it's called an oak forest, you'll probably have both birch and oak, but we're going to assume that you only have one type of wood and probably limited amounts of that wood. So, step number 3. If it's day, you want to put in some crops. So you want to get your hoe out. Let's say you have a stone hoe and some seeds. And some water. And you're going to want to put as many crops in as possible. So I like to do this by putting some water underneath here, so that there's water there, but you can't really see it except for when you do that, but that's okay. And I like to just make it fairly bubbly, like a nice sort of round shape. I usually put granite, if you have any granite. If you don't, you can just put some fences around it, but it doesn't really matter. I like to put some granite walls around it, just to make it a little nicer. And then you'll put your seeds in there. And you want to get this growing ASAP so you can have farms and stuff. But I'm just going to add a couple of those around. So now you've got some crops growing all around your house. And make sure that they're not just like in one line at the front of your house. Make sure that they go back. Not because you'll get more crops out of it, but because it gives the house depth. And it just makes it look good. I like to put the granite in. This is very typical of me. It's a very basic house, but it's gonna look pretty good for a starter house. So 4th step, you're going to want to put a second story in for part of your house. So second stories are great because you can put extra storage up there, you can put your bedroom up there, just extra space before you grow out of it. So I'm actually gonna draw a line across here and not worry about this front bit, because then there's varying height and varying depth and shape. We love it. So I've created a second story. It's very ugly, as you can probably see. But it's also for height because we will add some sort of structure here so that it gives a bit of separation between the bottom and the top. But that's going to be very resource intensive, and we do not have the budget for that right now. So we've got your second story. You're going to want to make some stairs up there. Let's make some stairs. I like to make stairs to align with where you want to get up there. I think I want to get up here, so I'm gonna work down, which works great. So you've got a way to get up there, and you've got a way to get down, and you need to make sure that it is lit up inside, because otherwise monsters will spawn. You probably already lit it up if you've been through the night, but I'm gonna do it now because I forgot. So you've got this is lovely. But you can, if you have the resources by now, you can texture this with strip logs or whatever. You can also add in the windows. I'm actually going to use glass. That's very aggressive. I like light gray stained glass. You don't need to do this. You can use a different type of wood for fences or fence gates, but I'm going to be extravagant because you don't really need windows in here until later. So I'm going to go and get some glass and use some glass panes because I think they look nice and I'm in creative mode. But yeah, you don't need glass and you don't need windows in here until you can afford them. But I just think they look nice. Next, a roof. A roof is probably important at this point because it looks nice, but we need to add in some sort of structure first. So I'm going to get some spruce logs, and we are going to put in the corners here because I decided that I want corners. You don't need corners, you can put the spruce in here, but that's not the way that I work. I do like this, but I also want added depth. So I'm gonna punch out what I've done here and make a mess of it. But I'm going to make it go up like that and then drag it out like this. Now you're gonna need to make some amendments to your house, such as like where the windows are and how wide they are. But that's okay because when you get, actually I'm gonna change this again. But when you get to the detailing part, you're gonna have a lot of extra space to detail when you widen the build like this. I'm going to add some dark oak. You probably won't have a second type of wood, but if you do, then that's great. But I'm going to use dark oak because I like it. Actually, I think I'm going to use slabs. Slabs are a lot cheaper than stairs, especially like early game when you're trying to save resources. I really like slabs, but you don't need to use slabs by any means. So with my roofs, I like to make them slanted. It adds an extra type of shape to the game because we've got a lot of squares, but this is more triangular. And I like to make it so that there's a bit of overhang. So here, instead of just having one slab go over the edge, I want two. So it sort of hugs the edge of the build and makes it look like it's really like hanging on there. So some things to think about when making a roof. Add in some sort of shape in it. You don't want it to just go up. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But this is quite a steep roof, so I felt like I needed to break it up in the middle. So this block is in the center, and then the two windows are equally far apart because they've got 3 blocks in between and 3 blocks on either side of them. I like it when the underneath of the window actually has the same color as the window. It just makes it look like part of the roof. And we'll get some glass. I'm trampling crops today. We'll get some glass from below to sit in there. And that will look great. I mentioned this before, but you want to make sure that your roof overlaps and overhangs. So it should be quite thick here. It shouldn't be like have that square pattern on one side. It should be like multiple squares have joined together. You can make different types of roof, different slants. Like this is quite a flat roof. This is quite a tall roof, but you could go taller if you added a block here. If you had like a block here and then had the oak on the stair on top of it, and it would go whoop, but that would be very tall. So yeah, that's not a good choice. Also make sure your walls extend up to the top of the roof, because otherwise you will end up with a holy building with gaping holes in it, which is, I don't know, not the best. In these walls you can make the windows higher. That is what I'm missing. You can make the windows taller, or you can add a window up here. I'm not going to do it because there's limited space with the higher window, but that's just another way to get light into your build. So once you've done this build looks pretty done from the outside, if you are looking at it like a normal builder, but I'm a perfectionist. So I'm gonna detail everything with shutters, planter boxes, leaves, make it look part of the environment, and then I'm gonna add like a floor in it and some detailing, maybe like a chimney. I don't know, I don't think a chimney would work with this house. This is actually quite big. It's bigger than I expected it to be, but yeah, I'm gonna do that. It will look a lot smaller if you do use slabs for the roof, but I wanted to add in some windows, which is nice. And even if you wanted it to be a little smaller, you could add like just this bit be a second story, and you might not even use it, but it just adds that sort of height. I'll insert a picture here of a recent starter house that I've done with my friend Ash the Phoenix, but yeah, it does not have to be this big. And I'm gonna finish it off and we'll come back when I'm done. have it. This is a nice starter house. It is a bit weird. There's some things that you might not like, but I'm sure you can find a way to move around them. Half the block here isn't covered by a trap door. The windows are a bit weird. You could move the glass back and put in some trap doors here. That's something I've done on another build. But yeah, I feel like it would really fit into a spruce biome, or even like a dark oak biome, or I don't know, just like a plains. You may want to detail your lower level with other types of bricks. I've added in some stone brick walls to hold lanterns, because the lanterns are smaller than it, and it sort of just makes sense. But yeah, this is the build, and I hope you found the method useful in your builds. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week. See ya!